Hey y'all, it's Danielle from Black Business Boom and Booming You, and I am here today with a dynamic duo. Lonell Matthews and Kia Jarman are joining me today, and we're going to be talking about the first ever community safety plan in Nashville. I'm excited to have this conversation, to learn more myself, and to help the community to learn more about this project because I know that community engagement is a huge part of the strategy. So let's jump on in. Let's get to it. Kia, tell me, for those that are listening in and they're like, what is a community safety plan? Tell the folks what is a community safety plan exactly, beyond just policing.
Yes. So, and I'll start, and I'll let Lionel pick up from his perspective. But the community safety plan, first, just to give some background, at the top of the year, Mayor O'Connell set forth this idea to put together a community safety plan within our city to really look through the public health perspective and say, how can we as citizens, taking all of consideration of all of our history, our background, our environment, our economic opportunities, how can we look at all of that and then create a community safety plan that will support, again, our residents? And so a 29-person task force was put together so that they could come together and think about, through that public health lens, what does that look like and mean, and how should we consider trauma and violence and all these perspectives that our city is experiencing, and making sure that we're not just looking through policing or a criminalized lens and really looking at the whole person perspective. And so that's what the plan will, at the end, that's what hopefully we'll be answering, is how does the entire community need to feel safe, so that we can, of course, increase people's safety and also increase health outcomes, so people's ability to live longer and decrease violence. And violence not just being physical violence, but harm to your ability to thrive mentally, spiritually, emotionally, as well as physically as well. And I'll let Lionel pick up from his perspective.
Fantastic. That was great. Thank you, Kia.
Yes, Danielle. I'm not sure that I can say it any better than Kia said it, but Mayor O'Connell, he he appointed the Community Safety Task Force. There are 29 members. I'm honored to serve as one of the co-chairs for the task force, and he charged us with really trying to find community-driven approaches to safety beyond traditional enforcement, as Kia explained. Um, I'm not sure that this is the first community safety plan that Nashville has had, but this is the first comprehensive approach to bringing schools together, bringing representatives of retired law enforcement, bringing community voices from all different types of lived experience in the city of Nashville together to really come up with recommendations for what these community driven approaches look like beyond law enforcement. And so we've had several meetings over the last 4 months. We started at the beginning of the year. We are going to be wrapping up the task force work in June and trying to present and get those recommendations ready to present to Mayor O'Connell. And we really need the community's help to give us input, to really help us and challenge us to think about things and experiences that we may not have experienced on the task force ourselves, and really talk about how Nashville has changed because even though there may have been plans in the past that have addressed safety, Nashville has grown. We have changed tremendously, and we have to continue to evolve and be strategic about making sure that our community is one of the safest and most thriving communities in the country.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, along the same lines, this is again, even if it's not the first, I consider it to be an innovative approach, especially engaging the
Indeed.
community. And what do you feel like, and either of you can take this question, what gaps do you feel like made this approach necessary? So for Freddie O'Connell to say, "Hey, we gotta do this." What do you think led to that, and what are some of the gaps that we're seeing that you hope to be filled by this strategy?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I talked about how things have changed. In Nashville, the political dynamics are very different than conversations that we may have had around safety in the past. We are a blue city in a red state. We don't really have the pleasure or leisure of going to our legislature and say, hey, we have a gun violence problem. Can we really do something or pass laws that's going to improve gun safety or improve access to weapons for young people? And so we have to be innovative of how we locally try to figure out solutions that are going to make our community safer. We also have new dynamics politically when it comes to our Latino community and how they feel safe in a city like Nashville, with our federal government really targeting their families, their communities, with ICE enforcement. And so, how do you take these different dynamics politically that have shifted and still try to be positive and move forward with creating a safer environment in the communities that we live in? We also have different philosophies. A lot of when you think about safety in the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of people really have embraced this concept of trauma informed care. So, how do we acknowledge trauma? How do we try to address trauma? How do we prevent trauma? What interventions are we putting in place? But now some dynamics are changing because it goes further than trauma informed care. Healing centered engagement is one of the new philosophies and frameworks that we have been exploring as a task force. And that really means to go beyond trauma and try to address the environmental conditions that can cause and lead to trauma. Because if we have trauma and you get people clinical service, mental health services, and they go back to the same environment, they'll just fall back into the same routines and habits that probably got them to the place they were in the first place.
That's extremely helpful. Did you want to add something, Kia?
Sure. I mean, Lionel hit the nail on the head, so no need to reiterate that. What I will say, or what the core of it is root cause. Is really being able to look at the root cause of environment, the built environment. You know, how did we get into this condition? There, if you go and drive any portion of Nashville, you can say, okay, there are sidewalks here, and then all of a sudden they just stop. And what happens, and what people have told me in all the work that I've done in this plan and others, is when I'm looking to be safe, I want to be able to walk on a sidewalk and not have to walk in a ditch. I want to wait for the bus in a place that is safe for me and my kids. I want to be able to have enough lighting, as an example. That's just infrastructure. So we have to look at the root of that and really acknowledge and set an acknowledgement as a at the forefront of this work, and saying there were things that have not necessarily been done appropriately, and this plan also gets a chance to address some of those. And I also believe, as well as acknowledging the root, is acknowledging the intergenerational and multi-generational approach to what safety looks like. If you ask a 20-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 70-year-old what they want, it's going to be very different across all of those answers. And being able to put all of them in a room and all of them still feel safe. That's really what I hope will be an outcome of this plan, is that although those three individuals may need something differently, collectively and communally, we can get back to some of our origin, who we are as people, and really addressing some of the, again, root cause of that, but also the communal approach that we have to safety and being safe with each other.
Amazing. I loved hearing, again, every generation, we have our own things that we're concerned about. And I think that it's very smart of you all to address that. And so, one thing that you all have been doing is hosting these sessions to hear from the community, which I think is extremely important, that decisions aren't being made without the community's input. But as you all have hosted these sessions and you've heard from the community, what are some things that you've heard that have surprised you?
Mm. Okay. Well, what always is, I won't say surprising, but always exciting, is to hear from young people. So I had an opportunity to go and listen to our young people who've aged out of foster care. And what I love is how absolutely brilliant they are. When we talk about infrastructure, that's what they're concerned about. They're concerned about citywide Wi-Fi, because some of them are making decisions about if my phone can be on or if I can pay my rent or buy food. So they're concerned about that. And so while not surprising, it's exciting to hear from them. What I've been interested to hear more from, if I'm very honest, I want to hear more LGBTQ plus community, because I've heard a very small amount, but I know that there's more to be heard there. I don't want to leave them out. I want to make sure I'm hearing more from individuals with disabilities. And so, but what I'm hearing generally is that people are looking for a safe space. People are in safe space, meaning physical safe spaces. So young people said, listen, older folks, thank you for hosting us at, your church or your community center, but we would like to be by ourselves. And so they want what the city is calling third spaces, but they want
Spaces.
places where they can go and they can hang out. And I heard this years ago from Clemmy Greenlee. I want to be able to shout her out. Um, she said that the jails are open 24/7. Why do we not have a community space for our people 24, our young people 24/7? And that resonates with so much of what I've been hearing. Well, that's just one thing, but there are multiple things. People are looking to redefine community, not in the perspective of changing totally, but really saying how do we encompass what community looks like. I was hearing from an older gentleman. He said it used to be when I walked out of my home, the four houses around me was also my family. Those were my houses too, because they could all kind of get me together and they could discipline and they could say something. And then outside of those four houses or those kind of immediate people, that was the greater community. And so really being able to say, what does community really look like and mean, and how can we be safe? And the last thing I'll say is that what I'm hearing the most, which again is not surprising but it's resonating, is community is saying we can solve our own problems if we're given the resources to do so. And so that is what is coming up resoundingly in this process, is people wanting to fix and save and solve, and they're using that language themselves, but they want to be able to do that. I said that was the last thing, but one more thing that I can't forget. Lionel mentioned healing-centered work. The individuals who are caregivers, those who are leaders of community-based organizations, they also require care. And they are in great need of wellness and well-being and healing-centered, hope-centered programming that supports them to recover themselves while they're out doing very hard work, sometimes paying for funerals, sometimes supporting families in high levels of grief at hospitals. And so they themselves as caregivers need respite and support. And so I'm hearing those type of things out in the community.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kia. I want to, before we wrap up, I want to hear more about how the community can engage. Because I know this process has been going on for several months. I've seen the post about it, and I think that we have folks that feel like the engagement process their voice won't really be heard and it won't lead to real change. So tell me what makes this process different, and what can the community expect to see on the other side of it?
Yeah, if I can be frank, what makes this process uh, I would say different but similar to other processes that I have led is that I am a part and I'm holding the process accountable. What I always share with people is what happens in the plan. I don't necessarily manage after that, right? So I don't what gets written in the plan and how it gets funded or how it fundamentally gets rolled out. I can't manage, but what I can manage is the process. And I'm not a checkbox person. I have in my agreement, I have a certain amount of meetings. I will go above and beyond those because that's what's required of this process. Because what I'm finding is that people did not necessarily come out to the citywide sessions. Understandably, there's hesitation, whether it's hesitation to go to a certain community, hesitation or a community center, hesitation to go to yet another government-led process. Understandable. So for me, I say, well, then I got to hold the line. I cannot let us close the process of community listening until I've heard from more people. And so I'm encouraging you to engage in one of a few ways. One, you can go to the website. It's publicinput.net/community safety. We'll get if that's not right, we'll put it in the comments because I want to make sure that that's right. But we'll get it to you. You can also Google Community Safety Plan Nashville and it'll come up as well. So one of those, go there and go take the survey. It takes about 5 minutes or less. You're welcome to do that. I invite you to come and just sit and witness at the task force meeting. They do not allow public comment, but you can come and bear witness. And I can speak, I believe, with some authority and say that Lionel and Sue Fort White, who are the co-chairs, they will listen to you after the meeting. If you have feedback, you can email them or communicate with them. I encourage you to invite me to a meeting that you're already having. If you're a church group, if you are an auxiliary group of some type, a fraternity, a sorority, let me come to an existing meeting and just sit and have space with you, whether it's the 90 minutes to do the full listening or whether it's, 5 minutes to just do a pitch and say, take the survey. But I need to hear from more voices because I'll tell you, I do not want this plan to go forward and I haven't heard from enough people. And right now, as it stands, I have not heard from enough people. I just haven't, and so I have to advocate and ask you all, please fill out that survey, invite me to your meetings, or go to a meeting that's already existing with one of the organizations, and you'll know that because they'll invite you to come or come and hold witness at the task force meeting, and all of those dates are on the website.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kia. Lionel, is there anything you want to leave us with today?
Yeah, I just want to, like Kia said, I want to encourage the community to really get involved with this process, to make your voice heard. Kia was right. As co-chairs, we are having conversations with people offline, outside of the meetings. I actually was exchanging an email with a young lady that had a suggestion today that works at the trauma center at Vanderbilt, and she just emailed me out of the blue. She read an article in a publication and saw that I was talking about this and just reached out, and we've been emailing back and forth, 5 or 6 times, really discussing her idea. And so we want to engage. If you want to reach out to me personally directly, you can. Please use the official channels also to make sure that we capture your voice. We're able to present that to the entire task force for discussion and deliberation and consideration. But the more you engage, the more that we could try to put recommendations in place and put resources in place to make everyone in the city feel safer. And that's the goal.
Fantastic. Thank you all so very much for joining me. I think this is very important work. And anytime that you have the government trying to engage the community and actually hear from the people in the community, it's important that we show up and let our voices be heard. So excited that you all are leading the charge on making sure that our voices are heard in this process. I have the website. I will make sure that we get the correct website in the comments and in the caption for this. But if you all have any questions, find Kia, find Lionel, reach out, find me. If you need to get connected, I'll get you connected with them. You guys, again, I appreciate you all so much for joining me this evening and talking about this amazing initiative, as well as doing your job to really get out in the community and make sure that we are a part of this process. Anything you all want to leave me with today?
Thank
No,
I
you.
thank you
think
for hosting us, Danielle.
Yeah.
you all said a lot, so I think the
Yeah.
people got it.
Yeah.
Take the
Thank you so much.
survey.
Always. Yeah.
Even if you can't make it out to a session, take the survey. I'll make sure that the link is included in this post. Again, thank you all so much for joining me today, and thanks so much for everyone for tuning in. You all have a great evening.